This CKNW podcast for AIM Medical Imaging, home of AIM Medical Imaging full-body MRI scanning. A family history of medical issues is nothing to ignore. Book a preventative screening at aimmedicalimaging.com.
619. Chevron says there are no strings attached, but the Vancouver School Board says no thank you to close to $500,000 in classroom projects that Chevron said it would be prepared to fund, specifically in science, technology, and engineering. All right, let's see if we can further the discussion about this with Joel Bakan, who is a professor of law at UBC, and among many items he's authored is Childhood Under Siege, How Big Business Targets Children. He says, amongst other things, marketers target children with increasingly devious methods. Professor Bakan, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure, sir. Do you think that Chevron is proposing devious methods with this offer?
Well, I don't know if I'd call it devious, but I certainly am concerned that it contradicts and undermines effective teaching.
In what way?
Well, I think if we want to be effective in teaching our kids, we have to be teaching them to think critically about the world that they're in, and that would include thinking critically about fossil fuels and about the role of companies like Chevron's not becoming public relations promoters for those companies.
How would it promote? I mean, maybe it would turn the kids later into customers of Chevron for their gasoline, but are you looking at something being insidious here, brainwashing kids into accepting big oil, let's say?
Well, I don't think we need to use terms like insidious and brainwashing, but certainly it's going to create confusion at a minimum. I mean, Chevron's heavily involved in the Alberta tar sands, the Keystone Pipeline, hydraulic fracturing, all of these kinds of things, and we really want to teach kids to think critically about these kinds of things. And when a company is funding their classrooms and partnering with their school board, I mean, what does that say to them when a major player and advocate in these very controversial projects is actually a partner of their school board? I think at a minimum that's confusing, creates cognitive dissonance, and undermines our goal of trying to promote critical thinking.
I would put it to you that it seems to me the horse has already bolted in that schools accept from many, many corporations funding. I mean, banks, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that sure that that's an argument for them to accept more. And I think the difference, perhaps, between this program and many of those is that in those programs there's a quieter kind of philanthropy going on. There isn't the same kind of promotional objective. I mean, every time a kid's coming back from soccer practice and their parents stop to fill up at Chevron, there's going to be a sign. Their teachers are going to talk about it. There are promotional videos that have Chevron's logos in it. So, this is a promotional kind of philanthropy, a strategic kind of philanthropy, rather than a quieter type of philanthropy. That may have a place. I think that's debatable as well, but certainly it's a different animal than this one.
Let me ask you to stand by. We'll come back and pick up some more, especially with the argument being that there isn't enough money for this classroom project, so why not let an oil company pay for it? Joel Bakan, professor of law at UBC, is on the line. We are talking about the story that we kicked off on Friday about Chevron in the classrooms. Joel Bakan is our guest, professor of law at UBC and an author. You weren't too comfortable with my use of the words insidious and brainwashing, but Professor, I quote you, "We as a society increasingly neglect children's needs, expose them to exploitation, and thus betray what we as individuals cherish most in our lives." Neglect, exploitation, expose, pretty strong language.
Yeah, well, I think they're accurate when you look at the total range of things that I'm looking at in my book, which is really everything from the chemical toxins that we put into the environment and the uniquely harmful effects those have on kids, to marketing to children through some more increasingly devious means, and for a lot of it, devious, I think, is appropriate. But in terms of the Chevron issue, I mean, I think that what makes it such a difficult issue for us is that it is a little more subtle, and it's a little more difficult to see the harmful effects. If a big Coca-Cola banner is put into the school gym, you know, we can talk about how blatant that is and how that helps fuel a childhood obesity epidemic. But the reason why we're struggling so much with this one is that it seems a little bit more subtle in its effects. And my suggestion is it may be a bit more subtle, but it's no less problematic for the reasons that we were talking about.
But again, hasn't the horse already bolted? If we accept banks and Canadian Tire and a whole list of private corporations, somehow we seem to have a problem with an oil company, but not with a bank.
Well, you know, I mean, there's the old adage that, speaking of horses, that we shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth, and that's what a lot of people say about this. But there's also the story of the Trojan horse, and I think that in any given case, when a gift horse comes our way, we have to ask, is this a Trojan horse? Are there hidden problems and hidden costs? And as I mentioned, if a company is quiet in its philanthropy, if it's not using our kids as a promotional vehicle, then that's one thing. But when there is this kind of promotional aspect going on, and there's this confusing message to kids around some very controversial and difficult issues in our local society, then I think we have to think more carefully about it.
Pleasure talking with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Joel Bakan, Professor of Law at UBC. It ain't going away anytime soon. The news is next.